Have you ever felt afraid of what tomorrow might bring? Have you ever had that feeling that no matter how much you try to control everything, there are still things beyond your reach? In a world full of uncertainty, invisible dangers, and news that fuels anxiety, finding true security seems harder than ever. But there is a powerful truth that has stood the test of time and remains unshaken to this day. Psalm 91 is not just a well-known passage, it is a living declaration of God's protection, care, and presence in the midst of danger. It reveals that there is a spiritual place where fear loses its power and confidence begins to grow. In this video, you will discover 10 powerful lessons that show how to live under this protection, strengthen your faith, and find peace even in difficult times. Before we begin, let me know in the comments, where are you watching this video from? It would be very special to read your message, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to receive more content that strengthens your faith and brings peace to your heart. Let's begin. First lesson, dwelling in God's presence. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. This lesson shows us that true spiritual protection begins with a daily position before God. It's not about seeking Him only in difficult moments, but about living continually in His presence. To dwell means to remain, to build intimacy, and to depend on Him in every situation. When we choose to live this way, we find rest even in the midst of struggles, because we are under the shadow of the Almighty, a place of safety, care, and peace. This lesson challenges us to move beyond occasional faith and develop a constant relationship with God. The more we remain in His presence, the more we experience His protection, guidance, and comfort in our lives. Second lesson, declaring trust in God. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust. Psalm 91, verse 2. More than an internal feeling, trust in God must be expressed. This verse shows that faith is also revealed through the words we choose to declare. When the psalmist says, I will say of the Lord, he is making a conscious decision to proclaim who God is, regardless of the circumstances around him. In moments of fear, doubt, or pressure, our words have the power to direct our hearts. Declaring that God is our refuge and fortress is reaffirming with conviction that He is in control. It's not about repeating empty phrases, but about living an active faith that speaks and believes at the same time. In this way, our declarations strengthen our minds, renew our hope, and keep us firm even in the face of adversity. Third lesson, God delivers from invisible dangers. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. Psalm 91:3. There are dangers we cannot see, yet they are real and can affect us silently. This lesson reveals that God does not only care for what is visible before our eyes, but also for what is hidden, beyond our reach and perception. The snare of the fowler represents traps set with cunning, while the deadly pestilence symbolizes invisible threats that spread without warning. Even when everything seems calm, God is working behind the scenes, delivering, protecting, and guarding our lives from situations that could harm us. Many times we don't even realize the ways we are protected daily. This invites us to trust Him even more, knowing that His protection is complete. God works in silence, taking care of us in every detail, even when we cannot see it. Fourth lesson, God covers and protects you. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall trust. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. Psalm 91:4. God's protection is not distant. It is close, personal, and constant. This image reveals an intimate care, like a safe shelter where we find rest and security. Being under his wings means being in a place of refuge, where fear loses its power and trust begins to grow. Furthermore, the verse shows that God's truth acts as our defense. The shield and buckler represent protection against both visible and invisible attacks, reminding us that his promises are firm and reliable. When we stand on God's truth, we are not easily shaken by circumstances. This lesson invites us to rest, knowing that we are not exposed. God surrounds us with his care, guards our lives, and remains present at all times. His protection is faithful, constant, and sufficient for every situation. Fifth lesson: do not live controlled by fear. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day. Psalm 91:5. Fear is one of the greatest forces that tries to paralyze our lives, but this verse teaches us that those who trust in God do not need to be controlled by it. The terror by night represents hidden fears, anxieties, and worries that arise in silence, while the arrow that flies by day symbolizes visible attacks, the problems and challenges we face openly. God does not promise the absence of difficulties, but he assures us that we do not have to live trapped in fear. When we trust in him, we receive peace to face both the unknown and what stands before us. This lesson calls us to replace fear with faith, remembering that God is present at all times. Even in adversity, we can walk with confidence, knowing that he is taking care of us. Sixth lesson: God protects you in the midst of chaos. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Psalm 91:7. Even when everything around us seems to fall apart, God remains a secure refuge. This verse presents a scene of chaos where many are affected, yet the one who is under God's protection remains guarded. It is not about superiority, but about spiritual positioning. This promise does not mean we will not face difficulties, but that God sustains us in the middle of them. While others are overwhelmed, those who trust in God find stability. He sets boundaries on what can reach us and cares for every detail of our lives. This lesson reminds us that even when surrounded by problems, we are not abandoned. God is still in control, protecting, delivering, and strengthening us. In the midst of chaos, he keeps us standing, proving that his presence is greater than any circumstance. Seventh lesson: God is your safe refuge. Because you have made the Lord your refuge, the Most High your dwelling place, no harm will overtake you, no disaster will come near your tent. Psalm 91:9-10. When God becomes our refuge, we find a place of security that nothing can shake. This lesson shows that it is not just about seeking protection in difficult moments, but about making the Most High our constant dwelling place. To dwell in God is to live under his covering, trusting that he takes care of every detail of our lives. The promise that no harm will overtake us reveals that there is an active spiritual protection over those who remain in him. Even in a world full of uncertainty, we can live with peace, knowing that we are guarded. This lesson invites us to trust deeply and rest, because God does not protect us from afar. He is our refuge, present and faithful at all times. Eighth lesson: God sends spiritual protection. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. This lesson reveals that God's protection goes beyond what we can see. He not only cares for us directly, but also sends his angels with a specific mission to guard us in all our ways. This shows an active, constant, and detailed care. Even when we do not realize it, there is spiritual protection surrounding us, working in our favor. How many situations could have ended differently, yet we were preserved? This unseen care reminds us that we are never alone. The promise is not limited to special moments. It follows every step of our journey. God commands continuous protection over our lives. This lesson invites us to live with confidence, knowing that there is a supernatural care surrounding us, guarding our paths and leading us safely every day. Ninth lesson: authority over evil. You will tread on the lion and the cobra, you will trample the great lion and the serpent. Psalm 91:13. More than protection, this verse reveals spiritual authority. In God, we are not only called to escape evil, but to overcome it. The lion and the serpent represent real dangers, attacks, and forces that try to intimidate, but the promise shows that they will not have dominion over those who are firmly rooted in the Lord. To tread and trample indicate victory, dominion, and firmness. This means we do not need to live in fear, shrinking back in the face of adversity, but moving forward with confidence. This authority does not come from ourselves, but from God's presence in our lives. This lesson invites us to live with courage and faith, remembering that in God we are strengthened to stand firm. We are not defenseless, we are positioned to overcome. 10th lesson: complete promises for those who love God. Because he loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him, I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Psalm 91:14-16. In this final passage, God reveals a complete set of promises for those who truly love him. These are not isolated promises, but a continuous care that includes deliverance, answers, presence, and honor. To love God and know his name means to live in relationship with him, with trust and surrender. Even in times of trouble, God guarantees his presence. He does not abandon, withdraw, or ignore our cry. On the contrary, he responds, sustains, and leads us to victory. This lesson reminds us that the greatest promise is not only deliverance, but God's constant presence. And when he is with us, we have everything we need to stand firm, live in peace, and remain full of hope. As we come to the end of these lessons from Psalm 91, we realize that God does not promise a life without challenges, but he promises something far greater: his constant presence in every moment. Each verse reveals that there is a safe place, a true refuge for those who choose to trust. Maybe you are facing difficult days, dealing with anxiety, fear, or uncertainty about the future. But this word reminds us that you are not alone. God continues to be a shelter, protection, and rest for your soul. Even when everything feels unstable, he remains faithful. Do not ignore what God has spoken to your heart in this moment. Sometimes, everything begins with a simple decision: to trust more, to rest more, and to surrender what you cannot control. When we place our burdens in his hands, we discover a peace that does not depend on circumstances. Carry these lessons with you. Meditate on them daily. Let them shape your thoughts, strengthen your spirit, and guide your steps. The more you dwell in his presence, the more you will experience the security that only he can provide. Thank you so much for staying until the end of this video. May the peace of God fill your heart, calm your mind, and strengthen your faith. May your nights be covered with His protection and your mornings be filled with new hope and purpose. And remember, in God, you will always find peace, safety, and true rest for your soul. See you in the next video.